Hi, I'm Paolo Tantarelli with Community Soil Foundation, and today we're going to be focusing on post-fire land regeneration. Assessing what to do with a large piece of land or even a small piece post-fire can be extremely daunting, and we highly recommend reaching out to your local NRCS, Gold Ridge RCD, or even a registered forester to create a plan of what to do with your land before moving forward. This can save on costs, and our tax dollars pay for free consultations. If you have not had a consultation yet for your land, go ahead and line one up. A few misunderstandings that I often hear is that once fire has touched land, the ability for fire to come back is less. But as we see here, with these large stands of dehydrated vegetation, the possibility for fire to return is actually higher. Another common misunderstanding is the thought that now, since we have dead vegetation on site, it no longer serves our ecosystem. But that's not true. By cutting down trees and shrubs and grasses and laying them on the soil, they can become hydrated, which can stop erosion, suppress invasives, and create healthy soil. Today we're going to focus on how do we deal with dead vegetation in place, and what are a few quick ways to save costs by keeping the resources on site.
When collaborating with your local arborist and contractor, let them know you would like to keep any dead or dying vegetation on site and fire safe. This can be critical to assist any long-term vision for a healthy ecosystem.
So after the Kincaid fire, we collaborated with our local NRCS and arborists to create a forest plan of what to do with these trees, assessing which were going to come back from a canopy fire and which were not. Once we knew the trees that were not going to come back, we selected which should stay for habitat and which needed to be fallen on the ground. Once we decided which trees we wanted to bring down to the ground, we used our A-frame and marked contour from their trunks and asked the local arborists to fall the trees in that direction. Once they fell, we removed side branches and lightly pushed the trees into our shallow trench on contour. And so over time, as seasonal rains come, these trees are catching the water, slowing it down, and allowing it to infiltrate, which not only helps the groundwater and helps this tree break down into healthy soil, but it also stops erosion.
When managing vegetation post-fire, make sure to take all safety precautions by using a safety hat, eyewear, safety gloves, ear protection, thick pants, and boots.
Mi nombre es Hugo, trabajando por Community Soil Foundation. Es importante usar los protectores como lentes, protección por orejas y máscara y chequear si están buenos. Si están rompidos, es importante de cambiarlo.
If possible, ask to have the larger standing dead trees felled on contour of your hillside. Contour is found by using a tool such as an A-frame to make a level line across a topographic landscape. Once contour is marked, lightly create a trench. As the tree is fallen, cut all side branches and adjust the leader of the tree into the trench. If needed, place a few contractor stakes on the lower side of the tree to prevent movement. If there is an extreme slope or the trees are unable to be felled on contour, be sure all of the fallen trees are in contact with the soil. If needed, cut the tree again, allowing contact. This helps the tree biodegrade and speeds up the process, while allowing the trees to hydrate with the soil's moisture. As the lateral branches of the tree are removed, decide how much of this vegetation will be piled to burn with a burn permit in wet season, or piled for the chipper. If you are burning your vegetation, the byproduct will become potassium, phosphorus, and magnesium, which is healthy for the soil when absorbed. Several days after the burn, be sure to spread out the minerals over your landscape, 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and if possible, cover with mulch.
Let's remember that bare soil can be more costly in the future for the opportunities of erosion control and loss of fertility. A fantastic byproduct of managing your forest is chipping and creating mulch. And there's some great chipping programs here in the county that you can get a chipper on your land for free. If you need a chipper longer, collaborate with your neighbors and see if you can rent one for a week. That can also save on costs. Now, what I'd like to do is explain the difference between chips and mulch. Mulch is when we're using all diameters of the wood. Chip is when it's the same diameter wood run through the chipper. So if we look closely up at wood chips, they're all the same dimension. Now this can act more like kittling and be dangerous around fire. When mulch, over time, is already rapidly breaking into soil and hydrating quicker, which allows it to smolder when near fire. 3 years ago, we spread about 250 yards of mulch here on site after the Kincaid fire. And so as we look at mulch, we can see that it's breaking down over time, but it's these small fines that are becoming hydrated with the bigger chips that allow this to be less of a fire hazard and allow the soil to stay moist. So we're slowly creating topsoil over time. We're suppressing weeds or invasives in this space that we don't want to come back, and we're allowing the carbon and materials to stay on site. Once we have run our materials through the chipper and have created piles, spread the materials out evenly, 5 to 10 inches thick in the landscape. Another option while chipping is to broadcast the mulch directly as it is leaving the chipper by rotating the head of the chipper occasionally while feeding in the vegetation. Be sure to follow all safety precautions when using any machinery and have the machine completely off when making any modifications. Large piles of chips or mulch can be flammable if not spread out evenly throughout the landscape, so be sure to take time and finish the job. There's an urgency to remove the vegetation that's damaged on site, and then the assessment afterward to say, oh, now I want to landscape my space, or oh, now I want to rebuild the topsoil. I really want to encourage people to do everything at the same time within their forest plan and keep the material on site. So it's critical to stay in contact with your land management plan. We've had our consultations, we know what we want to do with our land and the materials post-fire. So we're looking at these trees. How do we want to get this vegetation down on the ground? And as much as we can, how do we want to keep the material on site? Another thing to think about is how to repurpose materials. Can they be used for light retaining walls or steps? Can they be repurposed for benches or habitat? We have a serious amount of resources that our tax dollars pay for. So let's get our consultations and information and move forward. Remember, when possible, to keep all vegetation and carbon on site. That will allow for creating healthy soils, prevent erosion, and keep out invasive species. By applying these practices post-fire, we can sequester carbon, rapidly build soil, and generate the land to create a healthier ecosystem for all.